on in, sit back and relax. You're listening to the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guests for this episode were John Amore, president of Kestra Financial, and Vinay Kant, chief digital and technology officer at Kestra Holdings. We spoke about the advisor tech landscape and Kestra's strategy, a tech stack overview and their partnership with Adipar, talked about data aggregation and bringing in historical data, and finally, AI strategy and advisor training at Kestra. And speaking of AI strategy, here's a question that every executive at a wealth management firm should be able to answer right now. Do you know every AI tool running in your firm today? Who approved it, what data it's touching, and what your liability is if it makes a bad recommendation? If you hesitated to answer, you need to call Ezra Group. Our AI governance audit was built specifically for wealth management firms who are adopting AI fast, but haven't yet caught up on the oversight side. We come in, map your entire AI footprint, identify your regulatory exposure, and hand you a governance framework your compliance team will actually love. Firms that get ahead of this now won't be scrambling when the SEC starts asking questions. And believe me, they will. So if you want your firm to have exponential growth and avoid AI liability, you need to run, not walk, to our website, ezragroup.com, and click on the big, beautiful purple Contact Us button on the homepage to schedule your free consultation today. And now, some standard housekeeping chores. Please subscribe to the show, leave us a 5-star review, yada, yada, yada. Make sure to check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others charitable foundation at investinothers.org. And if you're a software vendor in the wealth management space, head over to ezragroup.com/register to register your product at our Wealth Tech Integration Score vendor portal so your data will always be up to date. And now, let's kick this thing off. All right. I'm excited to introduce our next guest. So we have two guests, so I'm going to let each one introduce themselves so you know who we're talking to here. We have two people from Kestra Financial. First is John Amore, who's the president of Kestra Financial. John, say hi.
Hey, Craig. Thanks for having us on, and hi, everyone out there.
My pleasure. And next is Vinay Kant, chief digital and technology officer.
Hi, everyone. Great to be talking to you, Craig.
I'm happy you guys are here, starting the day off right. This is really exciting to have you guys both on the program. And are you both in Austin?
Yes, we are.
Vinay and I are both transplants from the New York area that are now proud residents of Austin, Texas.
I know we were talking about that.
John laid the foundation for New Yorkers to be welcomed in Austin. So I followed his lead and I joined 2 years back.
That is nice. I didn't leave. I stayed. I'm still in New Jersey, as everyone knows, but I'm happy if you guys are happy wherever you are. You just got to change your allegiance to all your sports teams.
No way. we were quite proud to go to the Knicks game in San Antonio 2 weeks ago. So don't you worry about it.
Oh, excellent. So you were happy about that.
Big time.
I'm sure your neighbors were not. Cool. All right, so we could do a sports talk radio on another podcast, which we will. But this one is a tech podcast. So if we could just do, for people who may not know, John, can you just do like a 30-second elevator pitch for Kestra Financial?
Sure. So Kestra serves independent advisors. We have two channels. One, which we call Private Wealth Services, which helps advisors in captive environments or wirehouses pursue a path of independence. And then our bigger channel and the genesis of our company was always serving and empowering independent financial advisors. So we're a wealth management company that empowers independent financial advisors.
Excellent. So the first question is for Vinay. So you came to Kestra from JP Morgan, where you were CTO of digital and client tech over there. So moving from what many would consider a wirehouse, mega bank, with virtually unlimited resources to what you consider a mid-tier independent wealth management platform is a big transition. So what surprised you the most about the tech landscape that you inherited when you joined Kestra in 2024?
Yeah. So, first of all, JP Morgan is a huge company, but I'll just highlight it's a misnomer that we have unlimited resources at a large company, right? The same level of prioritization we are doing at Kestra, we used to do that at JP Morgan as well. But putting that aside, right? The world that I was used to at JP Morgan, right, where we have private bankers, advisors, there was not an option of giving a choice to the advisors when it comes to technology, right? It was all decided from a business and technology standpoint. And the only time you will run into a challenge of different technology when you are trying to solve for Asia versus Europe versus America, right? Now, when I came to Kestra, right, obviously I kind of learned the business and understand more about the independent advisors, right? Which used to be, by the way, clients to JP Morgan asset management business. And one of the fascinating things I learned about the technology landscape is advisors have a lot of choice, right? They have a lot of freedom because they are entrepreneurs, right? So we need to respect that. At the same time, when I started to meet some advisors, I learned they were not really happy with too much freedom and too much choice. What I mean by that is, right, if you look at the fintech space, it has evolved so fast over the last several years, right? Especially the report that Michael Kitces shares, right? In 2019, I think it was like 150, 200 technologies. Fast forward 2026, it's like 600 plus, right? And especially with the AI boom, right? People are coming up with a new technology, new point solutions. So the interesting thing was, right? Advisors want some freedom, but at the same time, they need a lot more support. So that was very interesting for me, Craig. And this is where I partnered with John, right, to figure out a framework. How can we provide supported independence to our advisors, where we respect their entrepreneurial nature, right? That they want to be able to decide on which technology they want to use, rather than kind of working in a large warehouse where you have zero optionality. But at the same time, don't give them like 15 choices, right? Give them a choice where they can select from, let's say, three. The three technologies that Kestra has vetted from a cybersecurity standpoint. We have a good enterprise level agreement. So that has been a big shift just in my mindset, right? How we help our advisors rather than forcing a particular technology, partnering with them, understanding what their needs are, and giving the right technology.
So thank you for bringing up the Kitces Advisor Tech map. Michael and I actually do that together. So I partner with Michael Kitces on the map. We've been doing it since 2017 together. And you're
That's
right,
awesome.
it's grown from 150 back then to over 600 and over 60 categories. So that's even more complicated when you have so many different categories, and it's changing all the time. So that makes it very difficult for advisors to choose because they're overwhelmed. Which way do I go? There's so many different choices. So you mentioned you provide supported independence, and advisors want to come to Kestra because they can decide which tech they use. But if I could restate, you have a curated selection of options for them. So how do you decide amongst all the portfolio management platforms and CRMs and financial planning tools, which ones to offer to them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And John, I would love for you to also chime in towards the end because it's a partnership between business and technology. First of all, we are not building this technology in-house, right? Like we are trying to partner. As you said earlier, Craig, we are like a small to medium-sized firm, right? We are not JP Morgan. So we don't want to be in building every single technology ourselves. We want to partner with the like-minded organizations, right? That also are entrepreneurial, but there is a method to the madness, right? We have a evaluation framework that we are starting to standardize across every technology decision, right? So a framework is simply, right, looking at the best in class technology vendors out there, right? We do a functional assessment first of all, because end of the day, any technology we are choosing needs to meet advisors functional needs, right? Because advisors are not really asking for XYZ technology. They are wanting some capabilities. So we are trying to solve for those capabilities. The other aspect we look at is the technology scalability, right? The aspect of these technologies. Because if we bring in too many single point solutions that do not integrate well with other platforms, that doesn't work, right? So we also challenge these vendors in terms of what does your API stack looks like? Which technology are you using? Are you a Microsoft Azure shop? Are you a AWS shop? Those considerations help us in terms of the overall Kestra technology ecosystem. And the third, right, which are more of our intangibles, we like to meet their leadership team, right, their people, just to understand kind of, what sort of ethics do they have, right? And if we can really work with them in a long-term standpoint. So those are the three high-level kind of, areas where we delve into. We have not solved for every single technology, but we are starting to solve for more and more technologies where we can give support and independence. And the key that I'll highlight there is the reason we are trying to shortlist, right, our technology optionality for advisors. Number one, we want to make sure that we can provide better support to our advisors rather than advisors trying to navigate this fintech world, right, which advisors are starting to appreciate. Number two, better pricing. If we can get a better enterprise level licensing with some of these three, four, whatever partners, advisors get better pricing than they were to get by themselves if they were to sign up with a particular technology. And number three, cybersecurity, I'm sure we may touch upon at some point in time, is a huge, huge risk. We are able to put resources to create contracts to make sure Kestra's data, advisors' data is protected and is safe in case something goes wrong or in case a cybersecurity incident happens, which is very hard for advisors to do by themselves. John, I would love for you to
Yeah,
maybe also.
absolutely, Vinay. Craig, I'll add to that. We're a service organization. We are a very advisor-centric organization, and so we don't do anything without some voice of client included in the analysis of what are we looking at for the first time or before we roll something out. And so we always are very intentional about making sure we have councils of advisors who represent different demographics, different stage of business complexity, just to make sure we're getting all the voices that matter so that that Vinay and I aren't the ones making the decisions, but that we know what's important to our advisors, what resonates well with them, because again, our advisors are our clients, not our employees. And so it's really important to us that they're behind and supportive of the directions we're taking.
So I like to hear that. We don't want to hear just, hey, we're top down. We just tell you what you get and that's it. So it's great to hear that advisors have a say in the tech stack. But with the so John, you mentioned there's multiple channels at Kestra. You have Kestra Financial, Kestra Private Wealth, Blue Spring Wealth, Arden Trust. So can you explain those different entities, how they relate, and what advisors can pick one versus the other? And then let's talk about how you build a unified tech stack across all of those.
Yeah, so there's three main communities of advisors within the broader Kestra company. There's Private Wealth Services, which is led by my colleagues Rob Bartenstein and Scott Wilson, who built this business to help advisors escaping wirehouses or captive environments, and we give them a path to independence. We have the traditional independent advisor that Kestra Financial has served, where we are serving entrepreneurs, business owners, independent advisors who have been independent for a long time, or at least previous to Kestra. So this Kestra is usually a platform independent advisors graduate to. And then we have our Blue Spring community of advisors, which is a collection of firms that we, Kestra, have an equity or ownership stake in. So three communities of advisors, but if I didn't tell you which one they were in, you wouldn't know, because they are all really similar in how they, the types of businesses that they run and the clients that they serve. Across those three channels, our advisors are predominantly fee-based versus commission-oriented. They are almost always planning-led. They tend to work in ensemble firms, so there's usually multiple advisors in a practice, and they tend to be actively growing. And so that is the type of advisor that we serve. That's who we look to serve. That is who we say yes to. That's our TAM. And so they all run their businesses fairly similar. They're in a different channel based on where they're coming from or maybe where they're going, But other than that, they are really similar in types in how they approach their business and what their business composition looks like.
So when you have that, so having these different entities, but similar advisors, do they also have similar tech stacks, and do they all is that similar across the board, or is there still a differentiation in how their tech stacks look between Bluespring and the private wealth services?
So it's generally similar. For a lot of the core technologies where they're using Kestra, the technologies are common and available to all. Within Bluespring, we have some independent RIA only that are not part of the broker-dealer component of Kestra. And so they have a bit more of a slightly different tech stack, but generally is converging towards a common tech stack. And then, of course, Kestra Private Wealth Services and the Kestra Financial traditional independent, the tech stack is 95% the same for any of the core systems that they would utilize with us.
Yeah, and then I'll just add one more thing, Craig. That is the nuance we are trying to navigate for Bluespring firms, which are owned by Kestra. We are trying to bring them on common tech stack, right? For good reasons. Whereas for Kestra Financial Advisors, we want to provide them that supported independence that I talk about. So we are navigating that kind of balance. But the assessment that I talked about earlier, the protocol in terms of the assessment framework is exactly the same. We are trying to solve for technology at a Kestra Holdings level that can work for every single advisor group.
So can you talk a little about some specific tech that you offer? So when it comes to the private wealth services groups, what are the top 3 tech that you're offering in each of the main areas, like CRM, portfolio management, planning? Are there some tools that you only offer one, they have to use something, or everything gets a choice?
So I'll start, Vinay, and then you can add on. From a portfolio management perspective, all the advisors are using the same, which is a platform we call a Kestra Advisor Enterprise, which allows our advisors to run their own portfolios, to access third-party managers, and that is where we get a lot of scale, and from a training perspective, and from a sharing best practices perspective. So from that perspective, they're primarily using one platform. From a planning perspective, our advisors are either using Money Guide, eMoney, or Right Capital. Right Capital was a platform we added last year based on advisor feedback, and what I've learned in this industry is that you need to let advisors do their planning magic. How they've done it before. And so a lot of advisors may be comfortable switching their broker dealer, but they're not really comfortable switching their planning platform. Right. And so it's important for us that we have choice. And those 3 are, in my opinion, the most compelling leading sort of core financial planning platforms. We give them a lot more choice in terms of sort of the planning technologies that may supplement those core platforms, but those are the 3 core planning platforms that we organize. And then for CRM, we provide choice. Most of our advisors are using some combination of Redtail, Salesforce, or Wealthbox. I would say those are the 3 most common ones that they're using.
Yeah, I agree with John. And when it comes to the core technology, alongside Advisor Enterprise, we also have our homegrown solution, Advisor Complete, for books and records, account opening, which is, by the way, industry standard, right? It's not that Kestra is trying to do something differently. And recently, we have also launched Kestra Investor Solution in partnering with Adapar. That is also going to become our core technology that we want to offer to our advisors across performance reporting, document storage, client portal, so that our end investors or advisors' clients are able to see their entire portfolio in one place.
Excellent. That's exactly what I wanted to know. So with the Kestra Advisor Enterprise is the portfolio management solution. Is that built on a third-party platform that you've white labeled?
It primarily runs on an InvestNet chassis with some other technology supporting around it, based on for alternative investments and other sort of nuances. But the core of the engine is InvestNet.
Good to know. And the Advisor Complete, the books and records, is that built on something as well?
That's a homegrown platform that
Oh,
was
great.
built like several years back, and which is also integrated with the InvestNet chassis that John
Mhm.
talked about, as well as we are looking at broader integration. If let's say we shortlist a few CRMs, Craig, we
Mhm.
want to build that integration, and this is where coming up with that supported independence is important.
Oh,
We
yeah.
can't integrate with 15 CRMs, but
No.
if we shortlist 2 to 3
Mhm.
CRMs, it makes it easy.
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to convince me. We're Ezra Group, we spend a lot of time and research on integrations.
Right.
So hearing that you focus on them and that it's an important part of your decision making process, applications with strong integration capabilities, is music to my ears. That's what we want to hear, right? So, we have on our website, ezragroup.com, you can check out the integration scores. We have our own research where we scored every single application on the Kitsa's Ezra Group map that we mentioned earlier. So all 600 applications have an integration score. So we understand very well that it's important for advisors to be able to compare how well different applications integrate before they jump into them. Because as you mentioned, it's a long-term relationship when you pick software. It's like a marriage.
Right.
You're going to be using that
Exactly.
software for at least 7 to 10 years at a minimum.
Agreed.
Right. All right. So this is all good. Good to know. We talked about your quick tech stack overview. Let's get a little bit deeper, if we can, into your tech stack. And you mentioned Adipar is going to be running Kestra Investor Solutions, which is performance reporting, document management, and client portal. And there are a lot of other performance reporting tools on the market. Did you look at them, and what was it about Adipar that made them the right choice? And if you're talking to other CTOs and presidents out there, what are some of the trade-offs that you had to make when you're making that decision?
John, do you want to start?
Yeah, so we certainly looked at everyone who could solve the need we were looking to solve for. And ultimately, we chose Adipar for a variety of reasons. One is, you know, data has become so complicated and such a headache for advisors and for our industry. And it'll only continue to become more important and more of a pain point that we wanted to resolve for our advisors. And one of the things we really valued with Adipar is how data forward they are and how data centric they are. And because you know what, performance reporting and client portals are only as good as the data in those
Mm-hmm.
portals and performance reporting
That's for
statements.
sure.
And our experience has been there are some performance reporting capabilities out there that it is they may look nice,
Mm-hmm.
but the data, the integrations, how they're utilizing or will plan to utilize AI is just not where it needs to be. And so it was important to us. What we really valued was how data forward and tech forward um, Adipar is. Because there's, you talk about kitchens, there's a lot of firms that do multiple things, and performance reporting may be something they do on the side, but it's not the most important thing they do. And for Vinay and I, it was really important to us that like this is a company that lives and dies with the quality of its data and its performance reporting capabilities. That they weren't some type of asset management company that happened to have a performance reporting system on the side.
Mm-hmm.
We wanted a company that was sort of committed and tested to have worked and delivered sort of high quality deliverables to wealth management firms, and Adipar certainly checked those boxes for us.
Yeah, it did. And the only thing I'll add, Greg, to that, you mentioned if we made any kind of adjustments, right, to our selection. Adapar being a data company, right? They didn't have like every single functionality built out, right? So that is where we had to kind of align with them, right? In terms of what does your roadmap look like? Because we didn't want to settle with a company who's good right now, but
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have a good plan, right? In terms of adding new capabilities and features. We took a deep dive on their tech stack, right? So they also use Databricks as their data lakehouse. We also use Databricks. So that also adds to the kind of future integration, ease of integration,
Mm-hmm.
and also their AI strategy, how forward looking they are in terms of building AI agents, that could in future, right, help our advisors and our customers. And lastly, we met their, leadership team. We had, I don't know, John, how many meetings we had with the leadership team. We invited them to our office. And I think that's where we kind of, felt that Adapar is the right company to be a really good partner.
Yeah, and in fact, I just had Bob Pisani, their CTO, on the podcast a couple weeks ago. So
he was in our office
a couple
last
weeks
week.
ago too.
Yeah,
he's everywhere. Yeah, I see him all over the country. Man, time is just flying by here. I only have time for a couple more questions. So you guys put out a press release about this, which we were very interested in. And you mentioned about the Adapar, the Kestra Investment Solutions includes aggregated brokerage, advisory, direct business, alternatives, and held away assets into a unified view, which sounds fantastic. But from what we have seen, held away asset aggregation is notoriously difficult to solve and to deliver, as you mentioned, good data quality, connectivity, and reducing friction. So how are you solving for that? How much is Adapar's versus your own data controls and architecture?
So first of all, it's all about the right feeds, right, that we are trying to bring into Adapar. We have been working very closely with Adapar, our data team as well, Craig, to your point, to make sure we are getting the data right in the right format, the right manner to Adapar data ecosystem, as well as a lot of data is coming from us, right? Because one of the things that we are trying to solve for, advisors are really looking forward to, is the historical data conversion, right, or historical data, right? When we are onboarding advisors, they just don't want the transactions data for from now on. They want to see the transaction data and positions data from last 5 years, right? So this is where we are working very closely with them, right? And I'm sure you are following. I think NFS, which is our primary custodian, they also changed their format. Like it used to be a single line to multi-line. So we work through all of those aspects to make sure that data quality is not compromised. And going back to the inception, right? Because transactions and positions is easy to do for last several years. It's very difficult and almost impossible to do it from inception if somebody has an account from 2000. So that's where we are working with Adapar and some of our custodian and feeds, like we get feed from DTCC, we are getting feed from Investigo as one of our key partner to make sure we are getting data so that Adapar can calculate values and flows so that when our investors log into their portal, they can see not only the last 5 years PNP, transaction and positions, but also historical data.
And Craig, I'll just add to that. As I mentioned earlier, Kestra is both an RIA and a broker dealer, and so it was important to our advisors, to the point around getting voice of customer, voice of client, that we could capture both sides of their business, their fee-based business, their traditional investment portfolios, as well as any of their commissionable business or a business that may be held away. Because our advisors tend to be these complete wealth managers. We want them to be these complete wealth managers. And that means being able to have a complete conversation with their clients. And we felt of all the firms we looked at, Adapar best understood what we were trying to solve.
That's the way you want to go. You want to go with the vendor you feel most comfortable with. As you mentioned earlier, that basically you're going to be with them for a long time. Which once you build all this, you're not going to be switching quickly. And we're almost out of time. So if I can ask a tough question, where do you see this going? If you're 2 years from now down the road, what is your definition of success from this particular venture?
John, do you want to take a lead?
Sure. Look, obviously, client satisfaction is what matters the most to me. When I say client, I mean advisors. And are advisors able to use this platform to run their businesses better, run it more efficiently, grow their businesses using it? And so that, I need to see the adoption, the excitement, and us continue to evolve it. And our advisors know that no technology is static. It's about launching it, but then it's about making sure it's always a little bit better every quarter. And so as long as I continue to see that trend and I see advisors using it and being like me hearing that it works for them and it meets their needs, that's what success looks like.
Yeah, advisor feedback is going to be paramount. Advisor efficiency, Craig. I think just the only thing I'll add from my perspective, 2 years down the road, I would like to see kind of a lot more AI capabilities, right, onto the Adapar solution, and especially as Kestra is also kind of building towards executing our AI strategy, adding more agents. We would love to see that advisors are more efficient, right, and are able to do a lot more besides kind of growing their business.
Since you mentioned AI, Vinay, I want to sneak in one more question. So here at Ezra Group, we do a lot of work with AI. A lot of our AI clients are coming to us for help when it comes to governance and how they should be using AI and how their advisors, training their advisors on how to use AI. Do you have any plans to train your advisors on how to use AI, what they should be doing, what they shouldn't be doing, and how do you see that changing the way they're doing their jobs in the next 12 months?
100%. So last year, we launched a Zox partnership. We had a press release as well. As part of that kind of rollout, because AI note taking was like in big demand, right, last year. And there are a lot of companies out there. We did a very similar due diligence we did with Adapar. We went with Zox. And it was not just a technology rollout, right? We had our compliance team, we had our cybersecurity team and business team. We were all in lockstep in terms of how to help our advisors to be onboarded with that new technology. And there was a lot of training provided by Zox in terms of how to use the solution. There was a lot of training provided by our compliance team, right, to advise our advisors that you got to keep human in the loop, right? Because everyone needs to know, right? AI is not perfect. There are concerns about hallucinations. There are concerns about data privacy. So we did a lot of work, and we are continuing to do a lot more of that, Craig. So we are running an initiative where every single Kestra employee is getting trained in prompt engineering, right? Which is very important so that everyone knows how to best use AI and also safeguard in terms of the things that could go wrong with AI. And we are also looking to extend that sort of training to Kestra advisors in future. We don't have concrete plans, but yes, we do intend to do a lot of that.
That sounds excellent. We actually started a series on our blog about AI prompts for advisors because it is so important to understand. So I'm glad you guys are tech forward when it comes to training your advisors on AI prompts. But now we're definitely out of time. I can't stretch this any longer. My team's going to be beating me up for going over. But where can people who are listening find more information about Kestra?
Well, obviously, we have a website, Kestra Financial. .com. We have lots of advisors out there. So if you want to learn more about us, talk to some of our existing clients. Vinay and I are always happy to talk to anyone who's interested in learning more about who we are. But our website is the best place to start.
Yeah. Only thing I'll add is LinkedIn, right? We have a pretty good social presence. We are hiring a lot, right? We are looking to add, like-minded people who can solve problems in Austin, Phoenix, and in Bangalore, our India office. So if your audience is ever interested, please check out our LinkedIn profile and the jobs postings.
All great places to work. Great, guys. Thanks for being on the program. It's great talking to you.
Thank you for having us, Craig. It's great to be with you.
Thank you, Craig. Appreciate it.
It's Craig again. Here's my top 3 takeaways from this episode. Number 1, Kestra is moving from too much choice to supported independence. Vinay and John said advisors want flexibility, but not an overwhelming number of options. Kestra is curating a smaller set of vetted tools, especially around CRM, planning, and reporting, so advisors get choice, plus the right amount of support, leverage, and cybersecurity oversight. Number 2, data integrations are the foundation of the new tech stack. A major focus at Kestra is their rollout of Kestra Investor Solutions powered by Adapar for performance reporting, document storage, and client portal. They chose Adapar largely because it's data first, integration friendly, and has a credible roadmap for AI and future scalability. And number 3, AI adoption is being paired with governance and training. Kestra already launched an AI note-taking partnership with Zox and is training employees in prompt engineering. They emphasize compliance, cybersecurity, and human-in-the-loop practices, and they said advisor training on AI is likely their next step. Well, congratulations. You've reached the end of another episode of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. Before you go, please head over to our website, EzraGroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and analysis. You won't be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.